about the American Indian Heritage Month. Just reading up on the literature, I learned that it was first started in 1915. The American Indian Congress, American Congress of American Indians, designated November or December 14th, a one-day observance of American Indian Day in 1915. And then through the years, several states bought into the idea, and they supported the whole movement toward recognizing December 14th as the American Indian Day. Well, because of the growth, because of a lot of activities, a lot of movement throughout the country, in 1990, President George H. Bush approved a joint resolution designating November 1990 as the National American Indian Heritage Month. So it started until 1990, and since then, for the past 20 years, it's continued to go forward, and now it's pretty much recognized throughout the whole country. I first learned about it back in the early 90s, and I found it to be just the right way to celebrate our culture, our heritage, our language, our values, our principles. So to me, this has a lot of meaning. As a Diné person, I guess we always start by introducing ourselves. I'm a Kia'ani. My mother is a Kia'ani. That's our primary clan because we're a matrilineal society. And then secondary clan is my father. And then the third clan is my maternal grandfather. And then the fourth primary clan is my paternal, my father's father. So in the eyes of the Great Spirit, that's how I'm recognized. My name, Tommy Lewis, is secondary. Okay, so when I introduce myself, these four is how the Great Spirit knows me every day and protects me. And then on your right side, this is, you represent your mother. You represent your mother on your right hand side. You represent your father on your left hand side. That's our teaching. So on the right side, I have my mother. My mother has a mother, who's my grandma. So the bloodline, the Kia'ani bloodline, has flown for many thousands of years from the beginning of time. And then on my mother's side, my mother has a father. So that is my grandpa. So that's how come the third clan that applies to me is my grandpa on my mom's side. My father's over here on the left-hand side. And so my father has a mother, which is, she's a Tsenjikina. So my father's a Tsenjikina, so I'm born for a Tsenjikina. My father has a father, and that's my paternal grandpa, and that's Totsone. So that's how us Navajo identify ourselves, and we try to teach that to our young ones early on. Many of them do a wonderful job. It's always enlightening to see young children when they first enter Head Start, for instance. They know this, and they're proud to always tell other people as to who they are. And then the teaching is that on the right side, on my mom's side, that's the blessing way. The beauty way teaching comes in on the right side. Protection way teaching comes in on my father's side. Every day we're challenged with obstacle. Nothing is always perfect. Something's going to go wrong in a small way, in a big way. and we have to make a decision. So it's not, nothing is always beautiful because of the challenges. You have to understand the beauty wayside as well as the protection wayside. So in that way, you know how to balance what you need to do to make your life more easier, how to deal with situations, even the most complicated situations. You make that choice. You either make the right choice or the wrong choice. And through trial and error, I guess we learn. The other one is this, in our Diné way, we say, and that is a term that it talks about the natural world, the natural processes. And so, sa, in our way, sa is old age. Everybody wants to live as long as they can. There's a fine road that everybody can walk, but there's nobody on earth that has walked this line so straight except God. All human beings, including the Pope, including the President, has made mistake one way or another. So through our education, through our learning, through our faith, through our prayers, we try to keep that path as narrow as possible. But everybody will make a mistake. Granted, everybody will. I do. And when I make a mistake, I know I did something wrong, and I pray about it, and hopefully I will be careful the next time. Some people live differently. Some people go this way and then go back the other way. They have a big path, and the next day they're back in church, or the next day they're back in the sweat lodge. So the teaching is try to keep that path as narrow as possible. While you're going through that path, the mountains, the birds, the animals, the plants, the natural world will make you better understand what you're about. How are you connected? Where do you fit in? How do you understand yourself? What do you need to do to make yourself better, more happier, more content? So you pray every day. You have this wishful thinking. I'm going to do my best. I want to live another day. I want another day. In our Diné ways, living 102 years old, if you've lived that long, you've lived a complete life. You've done everything that was possible, and you at that point you go back to the Creator, knowing that you lived a full life. So that's our wishful thinking. I want to just lay that out for the audience as to how us, the Diné people, we use our indigenous knowledge, our grandmas, our grandpas' knowledge from way back. Many of them are not written down. These are oral teaching. And I always say that I'm really privileged to have learned my Diné language as my primary language. My mother taught me that. My father taught me that. They taught me how to live the Diné way, Diné values, Diné teaching about the blessing way and the protection way. And they gave me responsibilities early on to think for myself. They taught me how to pray even early on, about 5, 6 years old. They taught me how to speak for myself and for my brothers and sisters. I'm the oldest of 7. And so that it was a big responsibility. I seemed like I was depended upon by my parents to help them with chores, household chores. My dad was a construction worker. He had about up to a 3rd grade education. He could write, he could read, but just a minimum amount that he needed to survive. My mother never went to school. Her primary teacher was her grandmother. And so she will always tell us about grandma's way of life, grandma's teaching, grandma's experiences, grandma's values. All of that she understood. That's how she raised us sibling. To me, that's the most beautiful education anyone can receive. And I always say my mother and my father are my role model. They are my mentors. They are my heroes. Going through education, I had a lot of teachers. I had a lot of professors through college and university. But the one that I really contribute about is my mom and dad. And they gave me my Dene identity. They gave me my Dene understanding. So I guess I'm very humble. I'm very privileged that I have that as my first experience. And then I entered school later on, and I didn't know how to speak English at all until I was about 7 years old. And so it was a very exciting time for me. And I went through elementary, secondary, got into higher education. But I always use my indigenousness to lead me. I'm proud to be a Dene person. I'm proud to be a member of this community, Flagstaff. I've lived here for about 45 years. And I've had the opportunity through my career to have gone to many places throughout the country and abroad to foreign countries because of my work in the education field. And I've been very blessed to have gone to a lot of Indian communities throughout the nation. I've dealt with a lot of leaders. I've had direct relationship with national leaders, congressional people, governors, senators, congressmen, corporate official, university leaders. So education has done that all for me. And I really give a lot of credit to my work in education. And I try my best to always advocate for young people. I really believe that young people, if they know their roots, if they know their foundation, if they know their indigenousness, by golly, they can go really high. They can accomplish all that they want to accomplish. To me, being indigenous, being native, is beautiful. I've been to a lot of places throughout the world, and every time I get into a taxi cab from the airport, and the driver would always be looking at me in the mirror. I try to ignore it, but I know they're staring at me. And then they ask the question, "Where are you from?" I say, I'm a Dene. I always say, I'm a Dene from Arizona. And then they really begin to acknowledge you and say, "Oh, Dene from Arizona. Boy, I'm glad to see you. I could tell you were native, but I wasn't sure. I had to ask." Lots of times, people, especially in New York and Washington, they would take me as a Korean or a Japanese because of my white hair. But that was a compliment in its own way. So the Native American Heritage Month, I'm hoping that would really be better understood by people throughout the world. I know that we stand out in many ways. A lot of tribes have done a lot. A lot of tribes are doing a lot throughout the country to make our identity stand out more. And I was always glad to be a part of that movement to talk about our understanding, our connectedness to the world. You know, this indigenous knowledge that us, the Net people, and this Native people, other people throughout the world are very hungry for it. They want something similar. When I talk about these things and different with different audiences at school and corporate meeting, somehow I get their attention. They come around. They gravitate toward me. God, what you said and what you explained is so beautiful. It's so real. It's so powerful. I wish I had that kind of background, And boy, you walk away kind of numb and just being just so happy that you have that information, that knowledge to share. And just the small amount that you give them, I think it inspires them. It makes them want to do a better job. It makes them realize that their life, they're them being themselves without any imitation, without any hesitancy is so critical. If you're an Italian, by golly, live Italian, breathe Italian, live it the best way you can. If you're a Greek, live that Greek life. For me, I'm native, but Dene is who I am, with about 350 other tribal members. And the teaching that we use, that I explain, comes from our elders and all the people from way back, and that's what makes us who we are. And so the National Native American Heritage Month is very important for young people to understand. And I haven't been a teacher, haven't been a principal, a superintendent, a college president, university faculty, I would always try to explain these stuff to young people to make sure that they appreciate it. But once they learn, they want more and more and more. And it's really sad that even with us, the Net people, at 350,000 strong, right now we have about 55% of our language is still fluent. Out of 350,000, 55% are still fluent in the language, including myself. But that's changing quite rapidly. Study has shown that if we continue to go down the road as we have been for all these years, we can lose our language in 75 more years, because the young people, their primary language is beginning to be English, and the mother and father themselves don't really know. They may understand, but they can't speak it. They can't carry a conversation. That's true in my home, my family, my grandkids. As much as I want them to learn, and because they don't hear it fluently, I think the best way to learn a language is if you get to learn it the right way the first time. And right now, our young people are caught in a situation where we try to teach them English and Navajo at the same. It just confuses them. So it makes it very hard. So language is key. Language is key to culture. And culture is about art, it's about language, it's about food, many other things. But language